Hi guys, welcome to Nicky's World. I'm Nicky, your host, and today we got a lot to go about. We got a lot to talk about. We got a lot of things to go through, and basically we got to discuss on what happened to my podcast show on the previous podcast hosting site. But before we go any further, guys, if you guys love Nicky's World so much, please consider donating a cup of coffee for me. Because for the price of a cup of coffee at Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts, guys, you guys can help keep this podcast show alive. And you really, guys, help me curate more stories and more topics to talk about. And also, guys, I do accept Bitcoin donations. I'm also on Patreon if you guys want to sponsor this podcast show. If you guys love Nicky's World so much, please hit that like, subscribe. Please give me a review, good, bad, and the ugly. And before we get this show on the road, guys, if you guys love this episode and any of my other episodes on Nicky's World, please consider sharing this across all the social media platforms that are out there today. Woo! We got through a lot, guys. And yes, we had to get through the formalities before the show, okay? So today we got a lot to talk about, all right? We got a lot that's been happening, all right? A lot of things have happened to my original podcast show that was on Anchor.fm, and which was basically independent before Spotify brought them out, okay? So we got a lot to talk about and what happened between me and Spotify owned Anchor.fm, okay? And then going forward and all that and talking about the new podcast hosting site that I'm on, all right? So basically, guys, what happened on between like what happened with my podcast show, my very first one on Anchor.fm was that it got canned. It got cut. It got canceled. It got deleted because Anchor.fm, or basically, which is owned by Spotify, basically deleted my very first podcast show because they accused me of violating their so-called community standards, which I asked them what podcast show violated their so-called community standards. They wouldn't give me that. Instead, they repeated the line, well, your show violated community standards. What show then violated it? They never gave me a straightforward answer. And this is why with a lot of other companies, when they say you violate something, they don't tell you specifically. They just give you a blanket statement saying, oh, you violated this, you violated that. They don't give you specifics. They don't give you like an exact reason or like basically you're broken into its components, its reason why you AKA violated this or that or whatever. Okay? So what happened was my podcast show got removed on Spotify owned Anchor.fm because some leftists for some reason didn't like my views, my opinions, my beliefs, the topics I talked about, okay? They didn't like what I was talking about. So they, for some reason, some leftists went to like Spotify, which owns Anchor, and made up a bullshit excuse to get my show off their site. So sometime last week when I got the rude email, I was flabbergasted that my show got canceled. My show got canned. Okay? I was shocked that they were removing my show. They didn't give me a reason, a justification. They didn't cite a specific show that is accusing me of this. And for some reason, they were basically taking orders from Spotify to have my show removed because for some reason, they didn't like my views, my opinions, my beliefs, and basically didn't like the fact that I spoke in a Republican, conservative, independent, and libertarian mindset. Okay? So instead, they kept shows that were far left, that were basically Democrat or basically a socialist, Marxist, communist-like show. Okay? But for people like me who have an independent thought, who believes in individuality and individualism, we were thrown off their platform. We were thrown off their site. And basically, it's like this, guys. Spotify, which owns Anchor, is purging people who are conservative, Republican, independent, and libertarian thinking. They basically want to do a version of Twitter and Facebook, which is more like an echo chamber amongst themselves. Okay? So that's why for the whole week, Nicky's World was basically shut down temporarily. Okay? We were in the midst of finding a new podcasting hosting site. We were searching everywhere and searching around who can best serve Nicky's World podcast show, who can fit their needs. Okay? So what happened is that we were looking around, okay? I was looking at Podbean, which is a podcasting hosting site that this show is on now, okay? We were looking at them. We were doing background checks. We were doing, reviews. We were reading reviews from other podcast hosts, okay? So we were looking around trying to see who can fit the needs of Nicky's World, okay? And basically it's like this. With the dispute with Anchor, and the sad part is, guys, I couldn't import my old shows from them because they basically removed them off the planet, okay? So basically it's like this. Spotify, which owns Anchor, has essentially removed my show, okay? Because I'm a small potato, libertarian independent podcast show, but they won't go after Joe Rogan because he's got millions of people. He's got lawyers that are willing to at a flip of the switch go after Spotify so fast that by the time they're done, woof, they won't even exist. So that's why, guys, they went after me because I'm a small potato, conservative, Republican, independent, libertarian podcast show. Okay? But if they went after, say Congressman Dan Crenshaw or Senator Ted Cruz or Steven Crowder or Dan Bongino, there'd be lawsuits flying out the door with these companies, okay? But with me, they thought by canceling me out, they thought I would just cave in and say whatever. No, I'm not. I'm not the type of guy who's gonna stop just because some site just removed me off the ability to podcast a show. You know what? I went looking elsewhere. I went looking for alternatives that are far better than Spotify-owned Anchor.fm. And it reached me to Podbean. And Podbean, I am ever grateful and ever thankful that my show is being hosted on your site. I am forever grateful for that. Okay? Now, my dispute with Spotify-owned Anchor is that they didn't like my show because I spoke a libertarian, conservative, and independent mindset. I did podcast shows on, like, for example, about BLM and Antifa supporters. Why these people support them, but live in, like, say, suburbs or the rural communities, but don't even live in their communities. I did a podcast show on that, okay? And then I did a podcast show on the differences between intersex people like myself and the transgender community. I did a podcast show on that too. But for some reason, I think someone in the LGBT or BLM or Antifa or some far leftist group didn't like my views, didn't like my opinions. So they most likely went to Spotify, which owns Anchor, and demanded, and they got my show thrown out. So it basically meant that they didn't like my ability to speak my mind, speak my view, to have an opinion, to have a thought, to have a belief. So they wanted to try to deplatform me, okay? They wanted to try to erase me from online. Well, you know what? That ain't gonna happen. I'm sorry, folks. I'm sorry. That ain't gonna happen. I get knocked down, but I get up, and I'm still strong. Okay? You can try to knock me down so many times, but I'm gonna get back up. And I'm gonna get back up even stronger and more powerful. Okay? So that's why, guys, it's like this. That's why with Spotify that owns Anchor, they're basically controlling whatever podcast show gets on, okay? If your podcast show doesn't meet Spotify's leftist-leaning standards, boy, do they run you out. Boy, do they try to deplatform you. Boy, do they simply try to get rid of you. Or they make up excuses like saying, oh, your show does violated community standards, but won't give the reason why you violated their standards or what show violated their standards. They won't give that. Okay? So that's why like this. Any place that does that shouldn't go on it. Should just say, bye, won't do business with you, you know? I mean, seriously, if these companies did this in real life, in face-to-face, I wouldn't be surprised if they faced a lawsuit from the Consumer Protection Bureau. I wouldn't be surprised, okay? I would be shocked, you know, if these companies that do this online did this in person. I wouldn't be shocked, okay? I would be like, okay? So this is why, guys, this is why like this. Going forward, guys, Nicky's World podcast show is going to get better. It's going to get stronger. And it's going to get more powerful than ever before. We are going to hit them back with facts, with truth. And we're going to hit them with the reality. We're going to hit them with reality checks that are so cold and hard that they're going to have to face it one way or the other. Okay? And this is why I believe like this. The reason why Spotify, which owns Anchor.fm, removed my show, because they don't like the fact that I speak the truth. I speak facts. Okay? I don't speak conspiracy theories. I don't give conjecture. I give the cold, hard facts that are out there. Okay? Yes, my podcast show, it mirrors or not mirrors or basically models based on the Dan Bongino show, the podcast show with Senator Ted Cruz, or the other one with Dan Crenshaw, or even the likes of Steven Crowder. But my podcast show is going to be modeled upon them. And it's going to be modeled in such a way that, yes, I do admire those shows. And I do admire the way they do it. And this is why it's going to be modeled like them. Okay? And yes, in every podcast episode of Nicky's World is, yes, going to have links that are citable. Okay? Show notes that are going to be citable. Which means, for example, if I talk about something that comes from, say, the New York Times, Washington Post, the Daily Mail, okay, or the Post Millennial, it's going to be cited in the show notes. It's going to be linked. So the leftists out there who likes to listen to conservative podcasters so they can try to attack them, I'm going to list the facts. I'm going to list the articles in there. So that way they can just say like this, oh, well, he's saying his opinion because his opinion was based on this article that he was reading. You see what I mean? So that's why my podcast show is going to be like that. Every episode I talk is going to have sources that are citable. It's going to have sources that you can look up yourself. Okay? Because a lot of times people are just going to say, are going to try to accuse me with something and say, well, you did this and this and this. And then I go with this. Did you look at the show notes? Did you look at what I was discussing about? Simple as that, guys. It's as simple as that. But like I said, man, Spotify owned Anchor.fm was great as whatchamacallit, a beginner podcast show. It was great to get people hooked into doing podcasting. And yes, I will consider Anchor.fm as a beginner's podcast show. Okay? It's great to get you hooked into podcasting. But after a while, you want to sit there and go, nah, I'm going to go elsewhere. I'm going to go somewhere where I can do bigger, better things and things that are far better than what I started with. Okay? I know, yes, Anchor.fm was great when it was by itself, but when Spotify brought them out and took them over, that's when I saw the crappiness go down. That's when I saw the heavy-handed, left-leaning tactics that are so common on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube being pushed on Anchor. Okay? So this is why, guys, my podcast show, its philosophy is this. We believe in freedom of speech. We believe that everybody has a right to freedom of speech to be able to express their viewpoints, their opinions, and their beliefs. We respect that. And we respect everybody's opinion, whether they come from a Democrat, Republican, conservative, independent, libertarian, liberal, okay? Even the liberals, I respect their right to their opinions and their beliefs. But I also believe I have a right to question their beliefs, to question their viewpoints, okay? To question their beliefs. So that's why my podcast show, we believe in freedom of speech. We follow the United States Constitution and its laws. Okay? We believe that everyone should speak freely. Everyone's entitled to their opinions, their viewpoints and beliefs. And everyone has a right to speak. Okay? I know there's a lot of leftists who think that, if you don't speak, if you don't agree with me, you don't agree with my views, opinions, and this, then you should be run out and this or canceled and all that. No, we don't swing like that. On my podcast show, we go like this. We don't swing like that, bro. Just go somewhere else if you want to do that. But on my podcast show, we don't swing like that. We follow the United States Constitution. We believe in freedom of speech, freedom of expression. All right? So we agree that you have a right to have your opinion, but we don't agree that you should be shutting down others that don't agree with you. It's as simple as that, guys. It's as simple as that. Because you know why? I want to say this. That I agree with everyone's opinions. Everyone has a right to their opinion. But you don't have a right to shut down others just because you disagree with them. Okay? And in my podcast show, we're going to take views from both sides. We're not going to judge. We're not going to criticize, but we're just going to lay it bare. We're just going to lay it bare on the bare table and say, this is their opinion. This is their opinion. Now you as a listener can decide which one you want to go with. Plain and simple. Do you want to go with this guy's opinion or this guy's opinion? Totally up to you. We're putting it all on the table for you as a listener can decide. Okay? So that way it just says to me that yes, I want to lay my opinion on the table. His opinion. You as a listener can decide which one you want to go with. Okay? But the problem is right now, you have a lot of liberals out there who are trying to shut down like free speech. They're trying to deplatform them. And I don't believe in that. I think deplatforming is wrong. I think deplatforming basically just means that you want to remove people because you disagree with them, that you don't agree to their views. Okay? That's why deplatforming doesn't work. Okay? So that's why like this. On Nicky's world, we believe in truths. We believe in facts. Cold, hard facts. And we don't sugarcoat anything, okay? We go where the facts take us. We go wherever the news articles take us, okay? And if you don't like the news articles that I'm citing, don't go after me. Go after the person who wrote the article, okay? So go after them for putting that article out there for me to go look at. Simple as that. But like I said, man, my show is about speaking the truth. My show is a commentary podcast. And we're going to talk about everything and anything in between. And we're going to lay it all on the table for everyone to see. And I frankly want my podcast show to be far better than it was when it was on Anchor.fm. Okay? When it got brought out by Spotify. I want it to be so far better that people are in awestruck. People are in wow that yes, I do have a podcast show. Yes, I do have it. That is so far better than everyone. Okay? And I want people to be able to say, wow, I hear you got opinions that I like to listen to. Or you speak your mind in a way that people can understand. And this is what I want my podcast show to be about. I want to be able to speak my mind and speak my opinion. I don't care if people think it's hateful or bigoted or whatever, but I want to be able to speak my mind and speak my opinion that is protected under the United States Constitution. Is that hard enough to ask in this world? Is it? So that's why, guys, I just want to say like this. That I am glad I am done with dealing with Spotify-owned Anchor.fm. I am glad that it's over with, okay? I'm also glad that I have now found a hosting site such as Podbean. I am glad. Okay? I am so glad. Now, I do think like this, that like what happened on Spotify owned Anchor should serve as a warning to people that sites like that you should be very wary of using. Seriously, guys, be very, very scared. Okay? I mean, I like to say like this. When I first started podcasting with Anchor, it was great. I got hooked into podcasting. Okay? I got started into it. I got more and more and more and more into it. Okay? But when Spotify got brought out by Anchor, it changed the direction immediately. Then they started going after people whose podcast shows didn't agree with the company's philosophy. Okay? So that's why they went after me. And I believe they went after me because a lot of these podcast shows are shows that don't fall in line with Spotify's leftist-leaning policies. So that's why they went after small potatoes like me, but didn't go after the larger ones like, say, Joe Rogan, because if they went after Joe Rogan, it would have been all over with, man, and Spotify wouldn't survive. They'd be gone in an instant, all right? But like I said, guys, like I said, man, I am glad that I found a good hosting site. I found a good podcasting hosting site that can host my show. Okay? I am glad I am on Podbean, and I am going to be posting more episodes on Podbean. Okay? So I hope you guys enjoy this show, and I hope you guys stick around and support me as I grow this podcast show. Okay? I hope you guys stick around with me. But anyway, guys, before we get off the show and I got to do some things, I just want to say like this. To everyone. Please use your voice. Use your words. Use your ability to speak your mind. Speak your opinion. Speak your belief. Speak it, no matter how many times people want to shut you down. Speak it until you can't speak it anymore. Okay? Speak it until you can't speak no more. Because I want people's opinions to be heard. I want views, opinions, no matter how extreme it is. It's got to be heard. Simple enough. All right? So, anyway, guys, I thank you very much for listening to Nicky's World. I got to run now. I will see y'all soon. Bye for now.